Leongatha, a small town in Victoria, Australia. Population just over 5,000. A place where everyone knows each other. The streets are calm, the air smells of dry grass, eucalyptus, and, on that fateful day, fried mushrooms. August 5th, 2023. Erin Patterson, a 49-year-old woman with two children, prepares lunch. Everything is as usual. Sunday, family, a roast. On the table, beef, garnish, and what she described as a gourmet touch, fried mushrooms. The guests: her former father-in-law Don Patterson, his wife Gail, Gail's sister Heather, and Heather's husband Ian Wilkinson. It was meant to be a family lunch, an attempt to reconnect after Erin's divorce from Simon, Don's son. They ate, laughed, shared memories. Erin spoke about her love for cooking, even mentioning that she recently bought a food dehydrator for mushrooms. But just hours after the meal, three guests fell gravely ill. Symptoms developed quickly: severe vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness. All four were rushed to the hospital. Gail, Don, and Heather rapidly deteriorated. Only Ian survived, thanks to an emergency liver transplant. Doctors immediately suspected mushroom poisoning. Not just any mushrooms, but Amanita phalloides, commonly known as death caps, among the deadliest fungi in the world. Erin claimed she had purchased the mushrooms from an Asian grocery store. Later, she changed her story, first saying she threw out the leftovers, then that she saved them in a container which police collected. Her story shifted repeatedly. Toxicology confirmed the cause. Alpha-amanitin, a potent toxin found in death cap mushrooms, was found in the victim's systems. The toxin is slow-acting but deadly. Symptoms can take 6 to 12 hours to appear, which often delays life-saving treatment. The story rocked Australia. Journalists swarmed Erin's home. Locals were stunned. She was a respectful mother, a home cook, a quiet woman, and now 3 dead after eating at her table. Neighbors described Erin as introverted but friendly. She kept to herself, rarely attended social events, but seemed devoted to her children. Her recent divorce, however, left her emotionally distant. Police launched a full investigation. Food remnants were analyzed. Critical questions emerged. Why did Erin survive? Why were the guests all from her ex-husband's family? Why choose those specific mushrooms? She wasn't arrested immediately. Investigators needed time to gather evidence, determine motive, and rule out accident. Meanwhile, community speculation grew. Some believed it was an accident. Others were convinced it was cold-blooded revenge. Local radio stations and podcasts debated the case endlessly. Supermarkets reported a sudden drop in mushroom sales. People no longer trusted their neighbors. The local church held a memorial service for the deceased. Candles lined the steps. Erin, though invited, did not attend. Her absence stirred further resentment. At one interview, Erin broke down. "I just wanted things to be like they used to. Family, warmth, lunch. I didn't mean harm." Investigators remained unconvinced. Her behavior raised red flags. She refused to cooperate, then changed her mind. Claimed she ate the same food, then later said she scraped mushrooms off her own plate. Investigators also found inconsistencies in her communications. Texts to a friend days before the meal referenced her frustrations with her ex-husband's family. One message read, "They always make me feel like an outsider. I'm tired of pretending." Analysis confirmed that the frying pan and storage container held traces of Amanita phalloides. Toxicologists ruled out accident. These mushrooms are extremely toxic and hard to mistake for edible varieties, especially by someone familiar with them. Police also retrieved her browser history. Among the recent searches are death cap mushrooms always fatal and how to detox from mushroom poisoning. A former colleague came forward saying Erin once bragged about her knowledge of wild mushrooms. She used to say she could tell them apart in her sleep, the woman said. She seemed proud of it. On November 2nd, 2023, Erin Patterson was officially arrested and charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 of attempted murder. Court hearings drew massive attention. To the public, she became a character straight from a thriller, a culinary killer. The prosecution alleged it was premeditated, that Erin wanted revenge on her ex-husband through his family, that she picked a day he couldn't attend, while his parents would. Evidence presented included search history indicating knowledge of poisonous mushrooms, contradictory statements about how the mushrooms were prepared, a history of strained relationships with the victims. The defense argued it was a tragic mistake, that Erin didn't know the mushrooms were poisonous, that she was suffering from depression, but the evidence stacked against her. The prosecution brought in expert mycologists who testified that even novice foragers are warned against picking any mushrooms resembling death caps. Erin had cooked with wild mushrooms before. She should have known better. Investigators also revealed that Erin had previously written a short story, unpublished, about a woman who uses food to exact revenge. The eerie similarities were noted by the jury. The trial began in early 2025. It lasted 6 weeks. Dozens of witnesses testified. The jury heard harrowing details from the medical examiner about how the victim suffered before dying. Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor, gave a heart-wrenching testimony. I remember feeling like my insides were tearing apart. I looked at Gail and Dawn and Heather, and they were all crying. We knew something was terribly wrong. I couldn't believe Erin just sat there watching. Erin took the stand in her own defense. Her demeanor was calm but emotionally distant. When asked if she poisoned the food deliberately, she replied, "Absolutely not. I love them. I would never do something like this." But the inconsistencies were glaring. Jurors were shown a timeline of her statements, highlighting the constant contradictions. 2 forensic psychologists were called. One said Erin showed signs of narcissistic personality disorder. The other disagreed, stating she was overwhelmed and emotionally unstable, but not malicious. The contrast added to the jury's burden. A tearful voicemail from Erin's daughter was played in court. In it, she asked her mother, "Why did they die and not us? Why didn't you stop them?" The silence afterward was suffocating. In July 2025, the court delivered its verdict: guilty, 3 life sentences without parole. One of Australia's most chilling and emotionally charged cases in recent history. The media dubbed her the Leongatha Poisoner. Erin's case became a symbol of horror lurking in ordinary life. Outside the courthouse, a crowd gathered. Some shouted for justice. Others wept for the victims. The judge called the act a breach of the most sacred social contract, to nourish, not to harm. Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor, is still recovering. He lost his wife and close family. He stated in court, "I want to believe she didn't mean it, but every time I close my eyes, I taste those mushrooms again." The case sparked national conversations about food safety, domestic violence, and emotional manipulation. It even influenced a proposed law in Victoria mandating mandatory toxicology screenings in unexplained group deaths. Erin's house sits empty. Her children live with relatives. The town tries to forget. But forgetting is impossible. Someone scrawled on a bench outside the local store, "She fed them death." The backyard garden, where Erin once grew herbs and vegetables, is overgrown. The food dehydrator she used still sits on the counter, collecting dust. No one walks past the house without glancing at the window, as if expecting something, perhaps a sign or just closure. A local filmmaker has begun developing a documentary on the case. Survivors and families of the victims have mixed feelings. Some want the story preserved. Others want it to fade. The world will remember this case, not for the number of victims, but for its quiet horror. Because you can sit down at the dinner table and never get up again.